Hi, this is John Ogilvie, and this web series is called Head in the Clouds. I'm an architect for the Government of Canada, and I help departments move their IT into the cloud. Tonight, in honor of Halloween, I'm talking about three things that keep me up at night with fear about what could go wrong with our GC cloud journey. So, the first thing that comes to my mind is that we're having a digital identity crisis. Last time I was talking about government CRM in the cloud and how we can use it to serve all of our various clientele really, really efficiently. However, that depends on us knowing who they are. The second part of that is having figured out who they are, we have to be able to verify their credentials. A credential is something given to you by an authoritative source. I have a driver's license from the Government of Ontario. I have a health card from the same. I have a spending authority from Visa and so on. So identity associated with credentials. And my fear here is that we are going to be enthusiastically offering all of these services to citizens on the web, and then we won't be able to keep track of who they are and what they're entitled to, and there'll be years worth of news stories about security breaches. So the good news here is that there are well-known solutions. And all we have to do, as we do so often, is look to Europe. The Europeans were leaders in privacy legislation, and they're also leaders in digital identity. So there are countries there that are 3 or 5 years ahead of Canada. There's countries like Estonia, the poster child for digital identity, that are 10 or 15 years ahead. So we need, in my opinion, to really swallow our pride, not try to invent a made in Canada solution for our specific requirements. Instead, we just look to our very similar friends in Europe and say, what can you teach us about this and how can we do it fast? There are initiatives by global IT players like Google and Microsoft and so on, who are working on practical solutions like passkeys, which are a really great way to throw away passwords and identify yourself using your cell phone in a way that's going to defeat a lot of phishing and other attacks. There is also great work being done by organizations like the Pan-Canadian Trust Federation, which would do the credentials piece. So how can you verify that I am entitled to drive a car? By hitting the Ontario government site in real time. The next area of fear I have with the government cloud is managing it. So again, there are 43 government departments, and I've helped about a quarter of them and counting move to the cloud. Once we're successful in doing that, we have what Scott Levac at Treasury Board calls the day two problem, which is managing them. So day zero is designing it, and day one is building it, and day two is managing it forever. Now, 43 departments managing 43 clouds with a handful of staff is working right now, but it frightens me because I don't think it'll scale. And there are solutions. The solutions are to either improve our capability to manage these systems, to build up our departmental skills at this. It seems kind of silly to do that 43 times. Perhaps we should be doing it in some kind of a central framework. That leads to the question of, could we get shared services to do this for us? And that's a very fraught topic, which I won't touch here. But shared services hasn't demonstrated an ability to manage in a responsive way an IT system like this, especially the cloud, where it is constantly changing with new innovations, and the whole self-service ethic is critical. Two other solutions: Amazon Managed Services, an arm of Amazon, has been doing this for a while. They're really good at managing IT. They use a lot of automation. I think they're operating at a whole other level than anything that we're doing internally in the GC now. But there's nothing equivalent on the Azure side. So there's some hope there. And the final thing would be, would some third-party IT service providers emerge who could step in and manage GC clouds? That's not a market that's evolved yet, but let's hope. So anyway, there's a serious concern there, and there are also some solutions. And my final treehouse of horrors, government cloud nightmare, is a bit of a paranoid fantasy, according to some people, and it's about politics. So Canada is a middle-sized power, and we aren't large enough to have what's called a sovereign cloud. So the United States has clouds that are owned and operated by American domain and American government companies. They even have their own dedicated government cloud with increased security. We don't have that. There are countries like Germany that take this seriously, and they have a sovereign cloud. I'm really interested in what that means, because Canada needs the same thing. We need to be sure that in the future, for decades into the future, once we've moved all of our IT to this cloud, which is managed by corporations, US-based corporations, that we don't lose control of it. I mean, during the Ukraine-Russia war, all the cloud providers shut down services in Russia because of international sanctions. And I noticed that this has proved it can be done. So Canada would never, being the nice people that we are, be subject to international sanctions. But we might run into problems with the United States under a future Trump presidency or some longer term scenario. And we don't want that to cause our cloud operating all over government systems to become unavailable to us, or to have its contents completely visible to another government because we're operating under the Patriot Act or something. Anyway, so those are my three GC cloud nightmares, and I'm sorry to inflict them on you. However, you do see that in all cases there are solutions, and let's work towards those. Anyway, John Ogilvie, Head in the Clouds, and happy Halloween.